good. Lucky me.
Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olsen.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me, as always,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Hey, guys, better known as the Three Amigos of True Crime. And tonight we got a great show on tap for everybody. Man, I'm actually really looking forward to talking to David. Okay, I know I'm going to destroy his name. Culczyk. Oh, you know what? Kind of reminds me of from the Night Stalker.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That one was spelled right.
Yes. That one I'm like, Culczyk.
He thoughtfully provides pronunciation guide in his bio.
Oh, well, that is, yes, that is a wonderful thing for him to do. But we'll be talking about his California death historian stuff, man. California has some weird deaths associated with it, and we will definitely be talking about that tonight and getting deeper and deeper into that. And, of course, Dr. Cole is living currently in California, so she can attest to the Holly weird mentality of the state. So, we'll kind of flesh that out a little bit and talk with him and find out why California is such a strange place to die. Well, guys, I for once have a complaint.
Oh.
Really now?
I have been doing home improvements all week.
You mean the TV show?
No, I wish, right? I wish I got paid to do these. I've done roofing. I've done plumbing. I have done restoration of cabinetry. I've done carpentry. And it just doesn't seem to end, man. It just, you know what? You neglect a house for 2 years and you wonder, oh, gee, now I remember why I didn't do all this, because it sucks. Home improvement stuff does suck. Thank God I am really, really well versed in plumbing, electrical, and roofing and all that stuff. So that's the bad part. My wife knows I'm good at all this. So guess who's the guy that's outside for 7 hours today sandblasting and sanding cabinetry?
I don't know who.
This guy, and it really sucked. I have sawdust of places I didn't think you'd get sawdust, okay?
Well, unless you go to the beach.
Yeah, man. I swear to God. I swear to the good Lord above. I don't know how you get sawdust in your area, but it happened, man. It's some underwear.
because it was ubiquitous.
It's
It
just
had to go
nuts.
somewhere.
It's
All right,
just
check
crazy.
this out, though. How's this for a bookend? How's this for irony? While you are repairing and, in essence, building up your house,
Yes.
I have spent the last now 3 weeks ripping apart my parents' house.
That is
And we are-
irony right there, my friend. That is
We
irony.
are finally out of there. And you know what the final tally was? And this is after taking out all the things that were, lovingly going to be maintained, restored,
Sure.
sold,
Sure.
all of that.
Yep.
Six full-length, full-size, 40-something, what do they call it? 40-yard dumpsters.
Wow, six of them?
Whoa.
Dude.
Six.
Man,
Wow.
I have rented those before for big construction jobs, and just one is huge.
It's massively huge.
Yeah.
Six.
So I can't imagine filling six of them. I don't think that I ever filled six even building a house.
I know. How big is this house, Eric, if you don't mind my asking?
6-bedroom, including basement, 7,000 square feet.
Yeah,
Whoa!
that's about the size of my house. That's about we got a 7-bedroom. I think we might have you beat by maybe 500 or 600 people. That's about it. And
You guys are living large.
well,
out there,
mine
I
was
tell ya.
yeah, mine was built in 1898 though. So back when homes were built big though. It's odd to find one that big now, Eric. They
It
generally
is.
don't build
They're
them
in
that
a
large.
development that was built in the 70s.
Yeah, so
and
that's odd for
theirs
that.
is one of the bigger ones in the development. It's not the biggest, but it's in the top,
Well,
5.
yeah, because back in
It's a
the
big
day,
house.
back in the day, I'm talking like when this house was built, it wasn't uncommon to have 7 or 8 children. So, they'd build them big because they had big families. And so,
Sure.
of course, that's what they did. Building supplies were cheap. Families would get together, communities get together and build homes together. Not anymore, of course, with code and construction companies. But anyhow, that's why it's not uncommon to find such an old home this big. But yours is uncommon because in the 70s, they were really leaning
Ranch.
more towards the ranch, minimalist way of thinking about a home. Not so big, but that's cool, man. Bigger the better. That's what I say.
Well, you can imagine with that amount of material, and so the 6 dumpsters, that's just what was discarded, right?
Wow, man,
so
that's a lot.
but prior to that, we moved, half their stuff's now at our house. Our
Yeah.
house is a third the size of theirs. And so you can't even walk into the garage. The entire basement is full.
Man.
Every room other than the 4 bedrooms in our house are now filled with stuff. It's going to take all summer.
But think about this, though.
Just to do really kind of a primary sort and get stuff sort of where it goes. It's overwhelming. I'm
But
telling
think
you.
about this, Eric. It's over 40 years of accumulation in one home.
Well, and you know
You know
what?
what I mean?
When we
So that's-
really dug into it and really, really got into everything, it's not even just the 2 years that they lived in the house.
Yeah.
It's really more like 3 or even 4 generations
Yeah.
worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Because they have furniture, paperwork, historical documents, pictures, just the life story, not only of theirs, my parents, and then their 4 children, and then grandchildren, and now, of course, recently great-grandchildren, but it goes back in time to their parents, my parents' parents,
Sure.
and even some from the generation before that, my parents' grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And, these were all people who saved stuff and who kept the pictures and who kept the historical documents. And so that part of it's super cool, but you got to dig through so much crap
Yeah.
to find the good stuff. And that's what was so overwhelming
Yeah.
about getting through this.
Just the
in
mass.
really only 3 weeks
Yeah.
is the sorting. If we
Yeah.
could have literally just shoveled everything out, you could do that in a few days.
Yeah.
But we had to sort through everything. The last thing we did, we had to be out of there Monday morning. That's when the title changed hands, this last Monday morning. 2:30 in the morning, Sunday night. Dawn just has a feeling. We're on our, 100th load between their house and our house of the day.
Yeah.
Dawn has this feeling. I think there's one filing cabinet in the very butt crack of the building, in the deepest recesses of the basement. There may be a filing cabinet. I didn't really look very thoroughly. She goes in there. This is 2:30 in the morning, Sunday. We've been going all day. We've been going all day, every day for 3 weeks. She finds their wedding album.
Oh, good call, Don. Good call.
All of my mother's childhood pictures.
That was worth going back for.
Oh my God. She found my grandfather's stamp collection. So think how old that is and what that could be worth. I don't know, maybe nothing. But the fact that it's that old is cool.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's what we hauled out of there at 2:30 in the morning Sunday, the very, very last load. So I imagine if she hadn't gone back in that one last time.
It would have been gone. It would have been lost unless the new owners.
Lost and gone forever
unless
into the 640-yard dumpster.
Unless the family that bought it after you happened upon it, realized it was valuable, and got a hold of you.
Oh, no. It had to be empty.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Hence the 6 dumpsters.
Gotcha. Had to be totally done. Everything out of there. Gotcha.
Everything had to be out of there.
Big job. Big job, man. Very, very big job. Clarissa, how the hell you been?
I've been good. Thank you. My house is like absolutely minuscule in comparison to the houses you're talking about. But
we live
doing a lot of home improvement too.
Yes. Now, how big's your house? As long as we're talking about this old house. How old is it?
It is 2,400 square feet around.
Wow.
Which, for a house built in 1944, is actually huge.
That is. I was going to say, for that time period. And your
period,
location.
They were postage stamp houses.
Yep.
Yeah. So, very, very lucky with this house. But since it was built so long ago, the amount of things that need to be fixed and done and redone, and I can't even... If I get started, it'll just last forever.
No, I hear you. I'm on a first name basis with everybody that works at a store called Menards. It's a home improvement store. I'm on first name basis with every one of them. I'll walk in there.
Home Depot and I were friends.
How's the project coming? Oh, Bob, it's coming great. Thank you. Hey, Carol, how you been? How's the kids? Did little Johnny get a Romano? All right. Yeah, I'm here buying more stuff again. So, yes, it never ends being a homeowner. But,
speaking of Home Depot, just to toss in one little additional statistic of the things we took out of the house.
Sure.
300 boxes from Home Depot.
300 boxes.
Wow.
300 of their small boxes, because when you get into the medium and the large, they're just too heavy.
It's hard to move.
Wow, man. And okay, now tell me you had a lot of help doing this project. Like a mass community of people came and gave you a hand.
How about no?
Oh.
My brother, my youngest brother, was here the whole 3 weeks. My sister was here 2 of the 3 weeks. She was here, she left, she came back. Dawn, certainly my wife, participated the whole time. My various children participated at various times. My uncle, my 87-year-old uncle, came out to visit my dad because he's doing, not great. Came out from California this last weekend, brought his oldest son with him. His son helped us. That's it. I mean, we did everything ourselves.
Man. You always find out who your really, really good friends are 2 times. A, when you have to bury a body, and B, when you have to move. Those are when you find out who your friends are.
Can't leave out my son-in-law. Can't leave out my son-in-law, Joe. That would be bad, because he helped a lot, and he's big and strong and heavy. Lifted heavy things. So, way to go, Joe. Thank you.
Hey, Joe. Thank you.
That was it. 3 weeks worth. We worked, a lot.
Yeah. That's that.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm never moving from this house, man. I will die in this house before I move again.
It's hard. It's so much work. And, if we were to move, it wouldn't be nearly that involved. But, now that we have inherited so much stuff and we got to figure out how to cram it into our house, which is, again, not nearly as big as theirs, and kind of integrate it, and we got to be really smart and really efficient. Man, now I really don't want to move.
Storage. Rent a storage unit.
Well, we do.
Sturgis.
We had to. No choice. So
Yeah.
we have 2 10x10s, and we still ended up with all the rest of that in our house.
It's amazing what people accumulate and, go throughout the years. And I'm sure your folks weren't hoarders by any means. They just had a big house and they filled it.
Well, it depends on your definition of hoarder. Let's say they were collectors. They both had collections. And,
Okay, they're
and I
hoarders.
should, to be fair, one more thing since we're beating this dead horse.
Yes.
To be fair, my office was in their house and had been in their house. Now, I hadn't really been working out of it for a few years now, but I still had 2 full bedrooms full of my stuff at their house. So really, I had just been putting off moving my stuff over here anyway.
You hadn't fully moved from mom and dad's yet. You still had
and
some
that
stuff.
is
Yep.
25,000 CDs and 3,000 books.
Who has CDs anymore? Number one.
I do.
Number two.
I have 25,000.
Damn, I have everything MP3. But wow, that's a lot of CDs, man.
It's a lot of CDs.
What are you gonna do with them all?
Keep them here.
Why don't you get yourself a big, maybe a 3 terabyte hard drive? Put them all on your hard drive.
No. It's too much effort.
Then get rid of all the CDs.
Way too much effort. Way too long. Think about it. If they're an hour, if they're an hour each, right?
Yeah.
You can figure it out.
Oh, I hear you. That's why you have. That's why you have one of your indentured servants, aka children, to sit at that computer and load them.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I already have thousands of songs on computer, so it's not like I need more. It's just it's for I am a discographer. I am a music historian. Other than my 5 years now, approximately, of writing about the paranormal and being America's Most Haunted and so on and so forth. I mean, almost all my adult life, I've been writing about music and popular culture. So, those were my books. Other than America's Most Haunted, I wrote the Encyclopedia of Record Producers. I wrote Networking in the Music Industry. I have other books sort of in the hopper that I just haven't finished off yet. So, I do want them for research purposes. The one thing you lose, believe me, I fully comprehend the advantage, the efficiency of being able to store an entire collection such as mine, basically on a computer. I get it. That's very, very attractive. There is no question about it. But what you lose is all the metadata, and you lose the cover art, and you lose all that information. And I like to be able to go right to it, pick it up, have it in my hand, flip through the booklet. Now, of course, LPs are even better. The cover of an LP and then the inside jacket. That's even better
that's what I have.
than the little tiny stupid booklet on a CD. But at least that little tiny stupid booklet on a CD has the information.
True.
You can see the art. Et cetera, et cetera. Because I'm still planning to do research. We're going to update, and we're going to aim for the 20th anniversary, which would be 2019. So not that long from now, for the Encyclopedia of Record Producers. That'll be the 20th. So I got to update it. I have to update the discography information.
Do a revised version.
I need this stuff.
Yeah. Well, very, very cool, Eric. And you're right. There's nothing like going over. See, I had the opposite problem. I have 1 million DVDs. Okay, not that many, not 1 million, but I'd say I got a couple thousand. And we were talking about DVDs. That's a lot of DVDs. That's a lot of real estate.
I know.
We
have DVDs too.
Oh, yeah. We all got DVDs. And so we all hoard something, some way, somehow. Everyone's guilty of it. Mine is DVDs, of course. Movies. Love movies. Love them. But how about you, Clarissa? What do you hoard?
Over 3,000 records.
Wow!
Yay!
All right, I did.
Yay,
thought you were going to turn around and say
they're fantastic, and it's very difficult for me to pass up. Just found the other day a vintage copy of Janis Joplin's last album with Big Brother and the Holding Company.
See, now that's worth having right there, man.
I was
worth
freaking
having.
thrilled.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I thought for sure you'd turn around and say, "Well, you guys are crazy. Of course I don't hoard. That's a sickness. What do you guys mean hoarding?" I'm glad to hear that you collect. like everybody
Oh
else.
yeah, no, I have to like buy more shelving now because I couldn't pass up. There's another Cat Stevens one that I found, and
you
it's
know,
just
if you
silly.
cover the shipping, I'll build you one.
Oh, okay.
All right, you cover the shipping, I'll build you a shelf.
Oh, it's getting arduous. I mean, vinyl takes up a lot of room. And
It
it's heavy.
does. It really does. Now, I suppose we should at least attempt to do a little bit of news, actual news, before we move on to true crime. Now, the latest hubbub out of Washington, of course, James Comey finally opens his mouth and talks. Wow, guys. What do you guys think of all the bombshells that were just dropped tonight on ABC Nightly News?
Well, he released the statement in advance, so
Exactly.
that's
yes,
where
it's a
the
leak.
information is coming
yeah,
from.
exactly. So he didn't actually
Or someone
speak
did,
yet.
yeah.
He didn't actually speak yet, but they have been released. All the transcripts of
Right.
his interactions with our current president.
Well, if you just read it at face value, and I did breeze through it very quickly. I did not pore over it. I did not ponder it, but I did blow through it very quickly about an hour ago. There certainly would appear to be signposts that could indicate obstruction of justice. Now, I've heard people talking already, the talking heads, the legal talking heads on the radio, and they're saying, I don't think there's enough there. Remember, impeachment is a highly political effort, number one. And number two, it has still never been resolved constitutionally if it's even possible to indict a standing president. So I don't think there's enough in there probably to, function as the smoking gun. But gosh, it clearly indicates a will and intent to interfere with an ongoing investigation. Does it make it into obstruction of justice? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but there certainly the intent would appear to be there.
I would agree. What do you think, Clarissa?
Well, I mean, it's not like I'm surprised, like when James Comey was dismissed from his post, I was automatically thinking that it was because he was being asked to stop the investigation. I mean, I never doubted that.
Yeah.
I never doubted it. So, the thought that that's kind of what's coming out, it's like that's par for the course. It totally strikes me as that's the type of person that Donald Trump is. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I wonder we'll shake out of this at the end, though. I mean, really, that's what matters is what's going to happen now at the end if he talks and all this does ring true and all these conversations of doing this and doing that are absolutely 100% true. Wouldn't prosecution start moving forward, though, Eric, if it is, of course, found to be true?
Well, again, it's not even agreed upon yet by experts. Can you actually indict?
But no one's above the law. I mean, that's why that's America.
I agree with that, but like obstruction of justice, though, just to put this out there, is one of the hardest charges. It really is. Because you've got to get that sort of malicious intent to obstruct justice.
Sure.
I don't know if there's enough for that. I don't know.
And
that
we
it meets the
also still
threshold.
have the Russian investigation that is ongoing. Now,
Right.
if you take that Russian investigation, you take Comey's statements together, you just make it into a sandwich, and if it all rings true, then maybe we could be in that ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most likely course, should all of that or a significant portion of that be borne out, would be impeachment. But again, remember, impeachment is a very political process, and you have Republicans controlling both houses, and in a sense now the Supreme Court. So
It'd be a hard sell. It would have to be so egregious that even they can't turn a blind eye to it.
Exactly. My guess is what we're going to end up with after all this comes down. There's going to be some people, below the highest levels will probably get thrown under the bus. That's par for the course. Will be tossed to the wolves.
Yeah.
And you will have a historically tainted presidency. I'm guessing he will not literally, be kicked out of office. Now, that doesn't mean that there couldn't turn out to be so much pressure
They quits.
that he resigned.
Resignation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then we'd be stuck with Pence. I'm not okay
Well,
with that.
no,
Sorry.
I mean,
I'm just
he
putting
was.
that out there.
I always loved the. I know it's horrible of me to say this. Mike Pence once called, and this is for real. Look this up. A part of a female anatomy. He once called it the devil's doorbell.
What?
Yes,
What kind of people is he sleeping
Darn
with?
you, Clarissa.
exactly, and it rhymes with Clarissa. Obviously, oddly enough.
You and your devil's doorbell. luring innocent men.
I'll never forget that when he called the ladies, and that is anatomy, the clitoris, the devil's doorbell. I'll never forget that. Well, I mean, what are we living in 1704? I mean, come on here.
No, we're living in Somalia with the
I like that though. The devil's doorbell.
female mutilation.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's the
the
devil's
way
doorbell.
he thinks and talks about women, I think he's terrified, actually, of women. Just in
I think
general.
he is. I mean, why else would he call the devil's
He's a little
doorbell?
scared.
I mean, come on, that's pretty ingenious off the top of his head. You know what that is? That's the devil's doorbell, Johnny. Stay away from it.
What happens if you ring it? Like what?
Oh, you don't want to ring the doorbell.
All the sound coming directly from that area. Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah. I don't recall
Maybe it's
so
my
either.
years of playing rock and roll. My hearing is so
Maybe,
damaged.
maybe that's it, because I don't recall there being an actual ding dong happening when you do that. I'm just saying from my own experience. I got lots of kids, okay?
Yeah,
so
but perhaps it was a metaphor.
I think it was a metaphor. I think it really was a metaphor. At least I hope there's no ding dong I'm missing.
For female orgasms being evil? What's the metaphor
no, but that's
about?
but that is that's his mindset on females. Is evidently, in my opinion only, and obviously others, he doesn't have a very high opinion of the fair sex.
What? No.
No, you would never think that. I know. I know.
Well,
I'm breaking news right here.
Historically, from the mythic standpoint, there's only a handful of roles for women. Remember, there's woman as prostitute, for lack of a better word. There's mother. There is the wife, obviously.
Nurse.
I mean, it's very limited, in terms of what the patriarchy has assigned the appropriate or acceptable roles, for women. And there are still plenty of people. Oh, my goodness. That's one of the shocking things about this whole election cycle and not just even in the U.S., but this rightward turn that we've seen in the Western world over the last couple of years is there are still a whole bunch of people in the West. We're not just talking about in the Middle East or, Africa or wherever, or Asia for that matter. We're not just talking about other areas. We're talking about in the West and the U.S. who are absolutely still afraid of women, look down on women, don't respect women other than in one of those few key roles, right?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
If you're not one of those roles, you don't count. Yeah. You're not a real woman. You're all you are is a temptation. You're a threat. I mean, and this is a point of view that goes back hundreds, thousands of years, and is so ridiculous. Let's face it.
Yes.
Okay, well, hold on a second. In the Sami culture, the indigenous people of Norway, Sweden, and Finland, they had a matriarchal culture. Burma had a matriarchal culture. Chinese, near Tibet, China had a matriarchal culture. India had a matriarchal culture. Indonesia, Vietnam, Native Americans. I could go on and on and on. So it depends on which culture you're looking at everything from. And I would posit that it's a very paternalistic way to look at history to say that we were always patriarchal, because it depends on where you're coming from.
Well, that's true. Good point. Good point.
You are absolutely right. And I was taking a shortcut, and I was talking about the perception that is out there of various cultures and how, quote unquote, backward they are due to their patriarchy. Okay, certainly there have been absolutely many exceptions throughout history, and there have even been egalitarian cultures where men and women work together and we're on equal footing. And that probably is the ideal place we would like to end up. Yes, there are some differences, of course. I don't think too many people would deny there are some differences between men and women, but for the most part, very similar, much more in common biologically than the few differences that there are. And basically, I think we'd be all better off if we simply work together in an egalitarian, men and women are equal and bring equally important bread to the table. So that's my perspective.
Very well said. Hey, we got to go to break. We have to ring the doorbell at break time. So we come back, we're going to have your true crime headlines with Dr. Clarissa Cole. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. Hey, you're listening to After Hours AM, and if you're listening to us via podcast, make sure you like us, follow us, review us, tell your friends about us, tell grandma about us, and keep listening.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At ACE, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at ACE, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. ACE,
the helpful place.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
If you're listening to After Hours AM, do you have a question for the guest or even the host? That's really easy. Go ahead and email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Are you feeling like picking up the phone and being part of the show? Call us at 612-326-6874, 612-326-6874. Come be part of the madness.
What's happening, hot stuff?
Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. Glad you stuck around with us through all the madness of doorbells and whatnots. And we are back at you. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And I can't even say my own last name, Joel Sturgis, by the way. That's the name. Don't wear it out. It is time for your, well, now I was going to say America's Most Haunted Headline. Oh, my God, where am I tonight? What am I doing? Oh, my Lord. True crime headlines with the one and only, talented and beautiful, Dr. Clarissa Cole. So, Dr. Cole, take us into the world of true crime.
Well, this story is 1 week old now, but I have to hit on it just very, very quickly because I cannot help myself. Mary Kay Letourneau.
Oh, poor Mary Kay.
Yeah, you remember her? She's 55-ish, around there.
She's that old now?
She was the school teacher who was 33, 34 years old, who had an illegal relationship with Villy Falau, her 12-year-old student.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
They had a couple of kids, and then after she got out of prison, she married him. And just recently, Villy Falau filed for divorce.
Well,
it's over.
He's with a crazy old woman now.
Sad.
He's like, oh my God. He probably woke up one morning going, damn, you're old.
It's that's possible. It's possible. I said in my email to you guys that if a pedophile predator can't find everlasting happiness with her victim, what hope is there for the rest of us?
Yeah.
What a sad world.
I know,
is.
right? I'm looking at her recent picture. She's not horrible looking.
Not at all. No, she actually aged quite well.
She's held up pretty good, but he looks like, why the hell am I with this old lady? That's a look at his face.
A little bit. I heard, so the grapevine said that he actually wants to go into the marijuana business.
Oh, gosh. What a great business to get into.
Yeah, and if you go into that business, you can't have a record, and your spouse can't have a record.
Oh, gotcha. So she is a felon.
Yep.
Because she is a registered sex offender. Am I correct?
You're correct.
She would be registered, even though she married the kid and did this and did that. Okay, so you can't have a felony. You're right. I'm looking at it right now. You can have 0 felonies or criminal history dealing with drugs or anything else. Wow, that is strict. Your spouse or you.
At least that's what the reports were saying. So part of what they were saying, the reason that he did want to
kind of looking at the guidelines for Colorado. And you got to be squeaky clean, like your entire family. I think they do background checks on 1-year-olds there, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah.
You're 4 days old. We got to go back those 4 days to make sure you didn't do anything. Wow. So he's getting rid of her. He's giving her the old heave-ho to go grow the devil's lettuce and getting rid of her.
That's what it sounds like. So
she's 22 years older. Yeah, I'd say that's a key factor.
Yeah, I would say.
Like you guys are saying, combine that. Yeah, she doesn't look bad. I'm looking at her right now. Combine that with the wanting to get into the trade and her not being eligible due to her evil ways, predatory ways.
Her evil ways.
Time to jettison her, man.
Yeah, time to get rid of this chick. Time to get rid of her and grow his devil's lettuce and be happy.
Give her the old heave-ho.
She aged out. Time to get rid of her.
I'm sorry. You are now securely in middle age.
You never see now. You don't see a lot of older women with younger men. Like the opposite, where usually it's the older guy with the younger woman. So
yes, but it's more common than it used to be.
It is.
Oh, much more common.
It is much more common because the whole cougar phase came out, right? So
okay, I didn't tell you this.
Okay,
nor did I tell our 1.7.
No, you didn't tell any of us
listeners. So no one heard this, but my ex-wife's husband is 13 years younger.
Man, wow. I'd have a hard time doing that one. Not, God, that's so horrible. I'd have a hard time doing that. No,
but she just tossed him out.
Oh, really? Wow, because guys inherently are less mature than women. And so that could be why you don't see as much of the reversal. Because
plus the whole patriarchy, plus the whole take care of me with the money thing, that whole mentality. So yeah, it's just much more common to have it go the other way and the whole trophy wife mentality. But that doesn't mean there aren't women who aren't interested in similar things.
No broad brush here. So you're right.
No broad
very well
brush.
Could be.
Damn it.
Now
maybe broad eyebrows, but not brushes.
Oh, that's the next story. Oh, Clarissa, you got a humdinger on the line here.
I do. There is a Florida woman who has been charged with 5 counts of sexual activity with a minor after police
Shame
say
on her.
that she paid a teenager up to $300 for sexual encounters. Explain this to me, people.
Okay, number one. All right, teenage boys, because I was one once, and I don't know how I've lived as long as I have, but I was one once, are not necessarily worth $300 in a sack. I'm just throwing that out there. All right? My first encounter...
If it was a relatively hot older woman, would you demand money? I mean...
Yeah, no. I'd be happy just to be in the game. I mean, I don't need the
Right?
money. I'll play for free tonight. Not a problem. I'm just happy to be here.
That's the part that utterly confounds me, because I have to say, even though it is an abusive situation, I've talked to a lot of men,
But
grown
who's
men
being
now,
abused?
who, when they were younger, they were thrilled to sleep with an older
Exactly.
woman for absolutely nothing.
You said it's an abusive situation, Clarissa. Is it really abusive?
Yes, it really is.
Come
Legally,
on.
it is, certainly.
Yeah,
Yes.
illegally, but come on. I don't think the teenage boy was being abused in the least.
Not if he was also
Getting paid $300.
Wow.
No.
Well, of course, you could say she began his gigolo career.
Well,
I know,
maybe she's the founder. You know, she's kind of like
I'm just a gigolo.
That's it.
I'm just a gigolo.
Yeah. Well, the eyebrows though. If you're listening, you gotta look up this story. It's at people.com. You can find the story. And this lady's eyebrows are something to behold. What the hell has happened to some women and their eyebrows? Their eyebrows are huge now.
Most women in their eyebrows. I'm sorry. Like I have naturally. I was saying this during the break to the guys. I have naturally thinner eyebrows. It's just the way they are. And I had a makeup artist friend one time. You're like, you know what? We have to plump up your eyebrows a little bit. You can barely see them. So she did what people do. Like, I scared the crap out of myself looking in a mirror. I look like Cruella DeVille. No.
Oh my God! Oh crap! That's me.
And then you
people
heard
know
the
they're not
devil's
real.
doorbell.
Yeah. The devil's doorbell went off.
Like, you can tell they're
I wonder
drawn
what that
on. I
sound
mean, you're
like.
not fooling anyone.
They are. The ones I actually like, which I have to say my wife does quite well. I love the arched look. That part's kind of cool and exotic looking, but they have to be thin and arched, not thick and arched.
Well, it's
If it
funny.
goes with your natural brow line, yes.
Well, it's funny because my wife doesn't wear makeup, and people ask her, "Well, who does your makeup? Because it looks so great." No, I don't wear makeup.
God.
Honestly, yeah, she just she doesn't have to. Oddly enough,
God does it.
God.
God, I hate her already. Doesn't have to wear makeup or anything, and looks great.
Well, I will never in a million years say that any of the women in my family don't wear makeup.
Yeah,
Those words will never cross my lips.
yeah. So
unless I was lying.
she just doesn't really wear a whole lot of it, if ever, and she, looks good. Well, anyhow, let's move along here. And where would you like to go? We'll go anywhere you want to take us. In fact, there is a Wisconsin story, or a guy in Wisconsin, from the Netflix thing. We'll try to get to that story. But where would you like to take us next?
Well, let's see. You know what? I think we should go there just because there's some details that I would like to sort of go over.
Yeah,
so
let's talk about Chris Avery and his frantic plea for freedom when he's so obviously guilty because he was convicted, mind you, by a jury of his peers.
Yes, and so recently, it turns out, a lawyer has finally filed a 1,272-page document.
Oh, boy.
Basically saying that Stephen Avery's conviction was based on planted evidence and false testimony. Now, okay, here's what I don't get, people. Avery's nephew, Brendan Dassey, all right, he was interrogated, and possibly illegally so. He admitted to being complicit in the rape and murder.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
His confession is pretty much what led to everything going down with Avery. And his Brendan Dassey's his ruling was overturned.
Yeah, sorry about that music on the website. Question though, quickly, Now, is his nephew, was he not a special needs individual? Didn't he have some type of mental deficiency?
He does have some cognitive deficits, but, and this is where people get crazy, the cognitive deficits have to be to such an extent that, A, they don't understand right from wrong for that to be an issue. They don't understand what's happening for that to be an issue. Okay. I don't think that there is any issue here with Brendan Dassey at all. The only thing that I think is a problem is them conducting an interrogation with a minor without a lawyer.
Well,
present.
I thought the nephew was being released, that Brendan was actually being released.
It's been overturned. His conviction's been overturned, and that should be grounds for Avery's appeal, is what I'm saying. And instead, they're saying it's unplanted evidence and false testimony. Why don't you base it on something you can prove?
Well, exactly. That's ridiculous.
What is this lawyer thinking?
We have actually, full disclosure, we've had requests from people that represent Stephen Avery to come on the show, and I've denied them simply because it's an ongoing case. And I think Netflix did a bang-up job. I don't think we can really add anything to that case other than maybe hear him rant, or the people rant and rave how he was wrongfully convicted. But mind you, I respect our justice system, and he was convicted by a jury of his peers.
Not only was he convicted by a jury of his peers, but his nephew admitted to his involvement and gave a full confession. So do I, in a million years, think that Avery is actually innocent? I'm sorry, but I don't.
I just have no interest in entertaining the idea of his innocence at all. I have nothing good to say about the situation. So there, I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, he doesn't need another platform. Thank you very much. He seems to be exploiting the ones he has.
Yeah, and to a full degree. Okay, what is next? Oh, Bill Cosby. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Bill Cosby, man, how many people did this guy assault? I'm starting to, I don't know.
Well, you see, Clarissa.
Yeah, what?
I didn't assault anybody.
Oh, so then after you don't assault people, Bill, you then call their house and offer free tuition to the person that you didn't assault?
I'm just trying to help.
That's what he's saying.
I'm just trying to help the less fortunate, Clarissa. That's it.
They're the ones that accuse me of rape. Those people.
They're the ones that took the roofie. I told them not to take it, but they took it anyway. And then they wanted to sex with me.
We talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago. And maybe on the Thursday show for some reason. And it's just so sad. I find this so dispiriting because I loved Bill Cosby.
I did too.
Way back. I mean, all the way to the
Show.
60s. I loved the albums, and I just loved his persona, his point of view, his absolutely championing of education. You know, he has a doctorate in education. And, so family oriented and on and on and on and on and on. I mean, was probably my favorite comedian. And what an important figure he represents.
You know what
and
ruins
represented.
For me? You want to know what ruins for me, Eric? It ruins two things. Picture pages and Pudge Pops. Jello Pudge Pops.
Yes.
Jello.
All right.
Jello, yes.
No,
and
Jello,
it was an honorary doctorate, wasn't it?
I think so. I think you're right. But he did achieve. I don't know. We'll have to go back and look. But yeah, you may be right. But he certainly educated himself, and has always been one who valued education, and one who rose up from the projects and on, and painted this picture and told these stories of his childhood that made his childhood in what most of America, white America, would perceive to be a ghetto setting. He made that setting feel absolutely normal and natural and right and American with those stories and those characters. And all of that is so important, and it's just been ruined for me, and I think for an awful lot of people, by this just unbelievable personal irresponsibility.
I was going to say,
this went on for years and years and years.
Devil's advocate here.
Dozens of people.
Devil's advocate here. You brought up some great points about Bill Cosby. Don't get me wrong, but you also forgot to bring up he's a predator, a sexual deviant, preyed on women. Horrible, horrible character flaws that have were detrimental to others' lives. You know, I mean,
I'm agreeing with you.
You know,
This is
I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
no,
This
but
has
what I'm
all
saying
been
is
ruined
because
for me
I've said the same
because
thing.
of that behavior.
Exactly, I've said the same thing you did. I'm like, yeah, but you know, I remember this, and I remember him doing great things here, and I remember great. You know, it was explained to me by a prosecutor recently. We were BSing about this case. He says, you know what 1-0 crap wipes away 10 million data boys.
Yeah, it's true. And to you know, say that it was, I mean, and everybody says it their own way, but like personal irresponsibility or character flaw. No, the guy, like what you were saying, Joel, he's a predator.
Yeah.
A straight up rapist predator. He drugs and rapes non-consenting women and girls, and there is no forgiveness for that. And does it erase all of his accomplishments? I think so.
I do too.
But
and
I'm right
that's
there
why
with
I'm
Eric.
So sad.
I had a fond memory of Bill Cosby growing up, just like we all did. Whether it be the Cosby Show, whether it be picture pages, whether it be his albums. You know, he had some of the funniest stuff out there.
He did. Great album.
And he, you know, and it was just funny. I mean, the guy really knew how to connect with his audience, unlike any other comic I've ever seen. But yet
he gave a commencement speech at Baylor.
Exactly. And so all these wonderful accomplishments, evidently, Clarissa, it couldn't have been enough for him. Do you think that's the problem? It just wasn't enough.
Well, I think that a sexual predator is always a sexual predator. And there are lots and lots of rapists out there and molesters and people that take what they want, Trump, that achieve a lot
Grab him by the hussy
in life.
I said hussy, by the way.
Sorry, did I say that? It doesn't negate what these guys have accomplished, but I do think that it takes a certain mindset to be a rapist, and there's a narcissistic mindset there, which is this is what I want, and I'm going to take it. And I think that Bill Cosby had everything given to him at a certain point in his life.
One thing that did happen that I kind of looked down thinking, oh my Lord, here we go, is I want to say it was his children or maybe him directly wanted to play the race card. Of why,
did they?
You know, remember that, Eric? I think we touched on it briefly.
Yeah, we did. Right. His kids' daughters were defending him.
Yeah. And
what do you mean the race card? I don't get it.
If he was white, they wouldn't be treating him this way, was what they were saying. And I want to stress, that's their opinion, not ours. But in the article, they had talked about had he been white versus black, he wouldn't have such things wouldn't have happened the way they are now.
No, then we would have elected him president.
Well, but that was the essence of the article, not the presidency part, but the race part, which I thought, okay, once they have to go to that length, that's not a good sign.
It's not. But it's not.
Do we have any idea, and not just, you know, as far as I'm talking about the real world, do we know how far back this goes? Do we know when this behavior started?
In Cosby's history, you mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I know it goes back pretty darn far, but he's been, I mean, how long has the guy been famous, though?
But,
you know?
Since the early 60s.
But think
Is
about...
it really that long?
Oh, yeah.
Think about his young upbringing, what he was exposed to in the projects. Not to defend him here at all. I'm just saying that activity in the projects could have been par for the course.
It could have been, but I mean, here's where I think a lot of people have a problem with that idea, is that there are lots of people that come from places, you know, in the projects that go on to do remarkably good things. And I feel like in a way to say that it's the project's fault, it diminishes them too, because everybody has to make a personal choice.
That is true.
You know,
no, very, very true. I just want to throw that out there that, you know, he comes from a different place than I do, far different, and you do, and Eric does. Again, not defending him in any shape or form. He's guilty. He should be tried, and the proper punishment should be, handed down. Now, how much of this now at the end of the day, Clarissa, would become civil rather than criminal? Because I heard there's only one charge. There's 2 charges that are actually criminal. The rest of them they're going after civilly.
Well, I think some of them might have to. That's the thing. I'm looking now at Wikipedia. They're saying that there are allegations back as early as 1965. And there is, in a lot of states, I should say. I don't know all of them. I'm sorry. But there is a statute of limitations a lot of times on sexual assault. So they're not going to be able to go after him for criminal charges. They'll have to go through civil charges.
And quite honestly, you know, he's so rich and powerful that probably would hurt him more anyway. I mean, let's just be honest. Bill Cosby's not going to see inside of a jail cell. Come on.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think so? Why not?
No.
I think he's too old and too sick.
That and he's too rich.
He's almost blind.
Yeah.
He's almost blind.
And he's too
so on and
rich.
so forth.
Come on. Money talks and bull crap walks. All right? Even in the justice system.
Money doesn't necessarily keep you out of jail, but being really old and sick and almost blind does.
Yeah, that would. I don't think he's going to see inside of a jail. I really don't.
He's almost 80.
Yeah.
I think he will. I think he will see time.
Yeah, won't be much time because it'll probably kill him.
No, I think he might. Well, okay, unless he passes away first. But I think that with criminal convictions, I feel like there is a certain threshold that once you surpass it, they're not going to let you go without doing time. And I want to say I feel like he's at that place.
Well, it could be house arrest. It could be,
sure.
You know what I mean? Really, minuscule time, not like a federal pen situation, but I could see them put a monitor on his leg and make him stay at home. And that would be, home arrest. I could see that because Eric brings up a good point. He has a lot of health issues that they cannot.
But out here, we lock up people. It doesn't matter how old they are. I talked to an inmate the other day who was legally blind, completely blind, 70-some years old, and he's only been locked up for 3 years, and deservedly so, I think, because of what he did.
I hear you. But see, no, that inmate, unfortunately, doesn't have the benefit of a big pocketbook and a great lawyer team.
That's true. You're assuming, but you are correct.
Well, I'm assuming that this individual is not.
You're right, though,
is not.
What amazes
independently
me,
wealthy.
just sitting here, pondering this while we're talking, is with these allegations dating all the way back to the mid-'60s, how amazingly lucky / Machiavellian / threatening must he have been to have kept this under wraps till, I don't know. I mean, the first I heard of it certainly isn't more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't recall anything, maybe sometime in the 90s. I don't know. I don't remember if it was that
the first
long
time
ago.
I heard about it was the model that used to be married to Mick Jagger. What was her name? You know who I'm talking about.
Jerry Hall?
Jerry Hall?
She brought it up, remember? I think
wasn't she kind of maligned for it, though?
Yeah,
at the time?
At the beginning, but then she turned out to be right.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, exactly. I'm saying that's what he had been able to do. If there anyone brought this up, it was just immediately, are you kidding? Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Well, you're insane. You're talking about Bill Cosby.
Well, you trying to get money out of him? What are you looking for?
Exactly.
What's the point here?
Exactly.
It couldn't be Bill Cosby. So, I mean, it's just amazing that if you go by the notion that where there is smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
That means there has been fire generating smoke since the mid-'60s. It's more than 50 women have accused him of either rape, drug-facilitated sexual assault, sexual battery, child sexual abuse, and or sexual misconduct. Over 50, going back over 50 years.
And he's probably got hundreds of victims, is my guess.
I'm sure.
Probably.
Well, the thing of it is you're right, where there's smoke, there's fire, but in this case, it's a towering inferno.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I mean, those are just the victims that have come forward, the ones that are still alive, the ones that are brave enough to say something. I mean...
Yeah, it's going to
so dispiriting. And one more thing, because I know we're almost to the top of the hour. As far as his childhood and his upbringing and what he was exposed to, I have to completely agree with Clarissa. There are directions that you could grant some leniency, I think, due to upbringing, but not being a personal predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
you're
don't see
absolutely
that.
correct.
And against the weak, the allegedly weak, against women, taking advantage of women. And again, it's not just kind of like borderline gray kind of stuff. It's not just disrespecting women. This is straight up drugging and raping.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. I mean
that is way past any lines.
It is pretty bad. I hope that justice is served, no matter if we have fond memories or not of Mr. Cosby. He is not above the law, and hopefully that the criminal justice system works the way it should, and there is justice found for all of his victims. That being said, we got to get out of here. We got to go to Fox News and come back. David Culczyk will be joining us, and we're going to talk about weird deaths in California. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
A preview of Comey's testimony. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. A prepared statement that former FBI Director James Comey will deliver before the Senate Intelligence Committee tomorrow is released. Fox's Jared Halpern has more live.
James Comey, who was fired as FBI director last month, will detail for the Senate Intelligence Committee a few different meetings he had with President Trump, describing unease and awkwardness as President Trump asked for loyalty and repeatedly pressed Comey to publicly announce that the president was not personally under investigation. Comey will say he did tell the president more than once he was not the target of a counterintelligence investigation looking into potential ties between the Trump campaign and Russia. The president's personal attorney, Mark Hasowitz, in a statement of his own, says President Trump feels completely and totally vindicated. Kathleen.
Thanks, Jared. National security officials were questioned by the Senate panel today and said they never felt pressured by the president to downplay any investigation of his campaign and Russia, but they refused to give details of private conversations with the president in a public setting. The president trying to switch the focus of attention to his agenda, talking about improving the nation's infrastructure.
It's time to rebuild our country, to bring back our jobs, to restore our dreams, and yes, it's time finally to put America first, and that's what I've been doing, if you haven't noticed.
The president speaking in Cincinnati, he also labeled Democrats as obstructionists for opposing efforts to repeal and replace Obamacare. Stocks closed slightly higher, the Dow gaining 37 points, S&P adding 4, NASDAQ up 22 points, and crude oil prices fell sharply following unexpected buildups in supplies last week. Fox News, fair and balanced. Questioning of Andrea Constant in the sex assault case against Bill Cosby focused on phone records.
The defense tried to establish that there was willing contact between Constant and Cosby, saying there were 53 calls made between the two over a 2-month period. Prosecutors said those were attempts to return Cosby's initial attempts to contact her, and that contact stopped after she left her job at Temple University. Constant was also asked if she consented to take Benadryl or any herbal pill. She answered no. Cosby faces 10 years in prison if he's found guilty of sexual assault. It's not known if Constant will be called again to testify. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
The jury is set in the murder retrial of a fired white University of Cincinnati police officer in the death of an unarmed black motorist. 9 white and 3 black jurors will hear the case involving former officer Ray Tensing, whose first trial ended with a hung jury. Kids barely out of diapers are involved in shooting cases in 2 states.
Police in Tennessee say a toddler shot his 7-year-old cousin after getting his hands on a gun in Nashville. Little Harmony Warfield later died at a hospital. But investigators aren't filing charges here because they believe this was an accident. Plus, they can't find the gun. They're now questioning family members to find it. In Arkansas, a similar story. A 4-year-old found a gun outside his home and shot his mom's boyfriend in the back. 29-year-old Courtney Craig died. The mother was questioned, but she's not facing charges yet. 3 men, however, are. Police say they hid the gun after the shooting because they didn't want the child to be taken into state custody. Monica Ricks, Fox News.
The Cleveland Cavaliers will try to turn the tables in Game 3 of the NBA Finals tonight. Golden State is up 2-1. The Cavs will try to climb back the way they did last year. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
Hey, welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me.
Eric Olsen, and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Better known as the Three Amigos of True Crime. Now, Eric, man, we got a heck of a guest on tap tonight. Who do we got rocking with us tonight?
we do indeed. Well, the focus, the topic of the show is the lurid, fascinating, heinous early 20th century crimes of sexual predator and murderer Gordon Northcott. And we will be discussing that case and many, many others, I am certain, with famed California historian and author, true crime author, David Culczyk. He is a California historian who specializes in crime and odd deaths in the Golden State. He is the author of 4 books: California Justice, Death in California, California's Fruits, Flakes, and Nuts, and no, that's not about breakfast cereal, and California's Deadliest Women. His weekly podcast is, you guessed it, Death in California. Culczyk was born in Bay City, Michigan in 1958. Hey, that sounds familiar. And grew up nearby Linwood. He spent his 20s as a musician, his 30s as a bike messenger, his 40s making money, and his 50s writing books. David was associate editor at Maximum Ink Music magazine from 1999 to 2007, and his work has appeared in the San Francisco Guardian, the East Bay Express, Madison Magazine, Pop Culture Press, Seattle Times, and the Sacramento News and Review. He lives in Sacramento. Welcome to the program, David.
Well, thanks for having me.
Hey, great having you on here. And, I was looking at, of course, all your books, and of course, there's a special case that Dr. Cole has written an extensive article on, so I'm going to back away and let her set that table and tell us, flesh it out a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So, Dr. Cole.
All right, so way back in the day, there was somebody named Gordon Northcott. He's Canadian, and he didn't have the best of motivation and such when he was up in Canada, and he eventually got to the point where he convinced his parents to buy, well, his parents really, I think, convinced him that he was going to do something good with his life, something productive, and they bought him a chicken ranch near Los Angeles in this place called Wineville. So he's got a chicken ranch in Wineville, California, on the outskirts of L.A. He's 19 years old, and he comes down to the LA area, and he brings his, at the time, 13-year-old nephew with him. And when they come down, the nephew thinks it's going to be for chicken ranching. But unfortunately, Gordon was a bit more than unmotivated. He was a sexual predator that ended up killing at least, he was convicted of killing at least 3 boys. And it's suspected it may even be upwards of 20. And the only reason we know this is because the nephew eventually got rescued a couple of years after the horror began down on this chicken ranch. The movie The Changeling with Angelina Jolie is loosely based. I say loosely because they do change the ending, and that just killed it for me. Is loosely based on this.
Did they find a boy in the movie?
In the movie, it kind of ends up looking like her son got away from Northcott. You see him running off into this field as though Walter got away from Northcott, when we absolutely know for a fact that is not the case.
Well, yeah, that kind of ruins it. But it
totally ruins the movie. Eastwood. It was directed by Clint Eastwood, and I'm just going to say it outright, Mr. Eastwood, I'm disappointed that you changed historical fact in a movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the first time we did that.
Yeah, well, it's still, I didn't like it because of that. But the Changeling really kind of glosses over, I think, because it's set on one of Angelina Jolie is one of the victim's mothers. So you don't get a whole lot about Gordon Northcott. So can you tell me a little bit about how you think of Gordon Northcott, David?
Well, the thing about Walter Collins and his mother that movie was based after is that there was a runaway that they found in Illinois, and he was from Iowa, and the cops thought he looked like the kid, so they sent him down to L.A., and the sheriff, or a sergeant at the sheriff department, showed it to her, to Christine Collins, and she said, well, it's not my son. And he said, try him out for a couple of weeks.
Try him out.
And then
test drive him.
Yeah.
Let us know.
And after 3 weeks, she went to the police station with his dental and medical records to prove that he wasn't her son. And the kid's name was Arthur Hutchins Jr., and he's dead by now. They put her in a mental hospital. The Captain Jones, J.J. Jones, did. And she was released after 10 days because that's when the crimes of Northcott came out.
I mean, I'm sorry, but as a woman myself, and I don't have children, but, I have a much younger brother. I was a nanny for a time. You know your kids.
I was going to say it. I'd know my son or my daughters.
Like if they gave you a different one and
try it out for a while.
What?
Just test drive it. Maybe it cries less.
And then to put her in a mental hospital saying that she was insane when she had all these doctors' records and things.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And, bad enough that she was already dealing with her son being missing.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine that?
Yeah. Desperately trying to find your son, and they, of course, give you a knockoff and say, yeah, give it a try for a little while. You might like it. And then when you call them on it, when she called them on it, they locked her up. That is insane. That's craziness right there.
That's how justice used to work.
And didn't they just send him back home or something?
Yeah.
The kid?
And then they just sent him back home. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, he thought it'd be be cool to be in California, so he said, sure.
I'd love to
say,
since you guys, David and Clarissa, are the experts on this relatively, almost 100-year-old case, I'd love to hear you kind of tag team and just go back and forth and relate the tale and your thoughts on it and where you found the information. I'm assuming, David, you had to do a fair amount of research to kind of pull this up, and then I know, Clarissa, you sort of piggybacked off of his work, but then did your own psychological analysis of the case. So I'd love to hear your combined forces take on this predatory killer, and may he rot in hell.
He was a peach, man. He was something else. I mean, just, coming down to this is what I can't quite wrap my head around. And I don't know if you found more on this, David. But the fact that he brought his nephew, so his sister's son, who was 13 at the time, down with him. I mean, do you think that he brought him down to the chicken ranch with the intent all along to make him a victim?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would have done that already if he was. I think he was going to use him as his helper.
Yeah, that's what was a little bit confusing.
The guy was insane.
Yeah. He was insane, and he was the right age because he didn't tend to choose victims that were much younger than age 12. So his nephew was the right age for him to abuse at that point. If he was a preferential pedophile, which, in my opinion, he was. So.
Well, 14-year-old Sanford came to the police department in L.A. to tell the story, and they weren't sure if he was telling the truth or not. So they got a hold of the police in Riverside County, and they went there, and it was all there to see. The place was abandoned and bloody, and all the evidence was right there, including graves that were dug up with the imprints in quicklime of two small bodies.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't really know the case, Sanford was the nephew, and then Gordon, the uncle, who was only a few years older than him, really, but much bigger because Sanford was small for his age. He brought his 14-year-old nephew down to the States, proceeded to immediately begin a campaign of raping him every few nights until he found boys in the community to rape. And then Gordon decided that he was going to keep these boys for upwards of a week in the chicken coop, and he would rape them throughout the week and then kill them and dissolve their bodies in quicklime.
Wow.
Sorry, but that's the case, yeah.
That is really damn gruesome.
It is very gruesome,
Lord.
And he didn't treat his family any different than he treated the victims, really, other than that he didn't kill Sanford.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't have a really good understanding of this case till recently. In fact, till I read your article, because I actually forgotten about the case. Because it's been a long time since the Changeling movie was out with Angelina Jolie. And, of course, that was, a lot of it was stylized and stylized and fictionalized, and of course the ending was changed. But wow, how long did it take before he was discovered? Gordon Stewart.
2 years.
Really?
He was busy from 1926 to 1928.
That's a long run.
They have no idea how many people he actually killed, because the whole area where Wineville is the desert. It's the Mojave Desert, and there's still actually pretty barren out in that area.
And do they decompose quicker in the desert or slower? To where maybe his victims would have been...
I would say slower, because there's not a lot of the moisture and other things
to
eat away
they
at
mummify.
it.
They would
Gotcha. I wasn't sure in that environment which way to go, because I was going to say there should have been tons of evidence then of his victims literally laying around.
Yeah, but where do they start looking?
Very true.
There was so much area.
Yeah.
The Sanford was able to lead them to the few that seemed to be really close to home. But 2 years, I have to think that this guy
a long time.
Killed more than 3. They only convicted him of 3, even though Walter Collins was the last victim. It was his own Gordon Northcott's mother that was responsible for killing Walter Collins by bashing his skull in with an axe. And we know this because Sanford saw it and testified in court against her. And again, like I said, the Changeling movie, you see Walter Collins running off into the field of flowers. That's not what happened to Walter Collins.
Maybe they meant that as he was running to heaven or something.
Yeah, like maybe as metaphorically put in the movie.
Like a metaphor.
So,
but to give you an idea how many, how bad this was, they raked up the bones that were in the yard, and at the trial, they had 2 bushel baskets full of like finger, toes, foot bones, hands, small, tiny bones. They found 2 pelvises.
Wow. And for that time in California has always been, weird things happen in California. It just does. All right? I'm going to put it out there. Holly weird, things like that. Even for California.
I disagree. I completely disagree with that.
I'm an outsider looking in.
I came here 15 years ago. I lived in Washington State. I lived in Wisconsin. Grew up in Michigan. I lived in Ohio, Texas, the Netherlands. The thing that makes California different is that we have a population of over 30 million people.
Sure.
You put 30 million people together, and things are going to happen.
Yeah.
If you use that on a scale according to other states, actually, California is number 25 of the most likely states that you'll be murdered in. And all the states, Arkansas is number 1.
I wouldn't have guessed Arkansas.
California gets this bad rap, but when you look at it also, there's no place on earth where so many people of different religions and races get together and actually live in relative peace. Anywhere else in the world, they'd be all killing each other. You can go to L.A., and Little Armenia is right next to Koreatown. Where are you going to see that?
Sure.
Here in Sacramento, the Koreans and the Russians live side by side.
Sure. No,
California gets this bad rap about being crazy, and although I did write a book called Fruit Flakes and Nuts.
I was going to just about to bring that up, then if it's so
you were
tame.
Just talking about breakfast cereal.
If that's so tame, then why would you write a book called Have Nuts in the title?
Yeah. Only half that book is about crime. The rest are just about the eccentrics that we've had in this state.
Yeah.
One of the weirdest ones is Grizzly Adams, who was just a complete nut job.
Well, David,
the real one or the actor?
He wasn't at all like Dan Haggerty.
No. Well, David, you will never, ever have anything on Florida. Florida's the home of the weird. All right.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's a coincidence that you've never lived in Florida.
I was going to say, David, you don't live in Florida.
I've never been to Florida.
Yeah, well, we have a long-running joke with just Florida man.
I'm going
headlines.
to write a book about that.
I would. I'd definitely get on that. But, okay, my point being is for the time, even as progressive as California always has been, generally speaking, this had to have been a spectacle. This had to have dropped a lot of jaws that this individual killed this many people, and just the gruesome nature of things.
Well, not necessarily, because 1926, the 1920s was a very violent period, and I'm not even talking about the gangster stuff. I'm talking about just life in general. And people were killing each other everywhere. Everything was changing so quick. That's the year Coast to Coast National Radio went on the air. So everyone could listen to the same thing. Well, you were listening to the same thing in Colorado as you were in New York City. A lot of things changed very quickly, and a lot of people didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
also, a lot of people had very bad problems with World War One. Killed millions of people. Everybody knew somebody that was hurt. And also the pandemic afterwards. It made a lot of people think why they were following, Victorian, Ecuadorian beliefs brought over from England, how to be, proper gentlemen and all that. And people were realizing that, it's all a bunch of bull. So that was actually the very start of the modern times as far as free thinking and going against the norm. Gordon Northcott wore lipstick and eyeliner.
Really? I'm reading that right now. I'm reading his bio, of course, because I didn't get a chance to really dive deep into him. I wanted to wait till we're talking. That way I'd have, at least be able to wow, that is strange. That is actually truly strange, especially for the time. That necessarily was not accepted openly.
It was the Roaring
it wasn't
20s.
accepted as much as it is even now, but people things loosened up in the 1920s, and people minded their business more.
David, I think
in the
you made it.
1920s, people minded their business more.
I think you made a great point about mass communication. Think of the implications of that. For the first time ever, people can hear the exact same message, the exact same entertainment anywhere in the entire nation at the same time. That was the first really, really big blow against regionalism. And we're still fighting that war. We're still fighting that battle. I think that's one of the points, one of the major issues, kind of underlying issues of this current, most recent election cycle. There are people who want differences by region and who want to have that sort of local control, whereas you have the much larger and much longer term trend toward globalism, and literally in the globe or within the nation itself. So I think that is such an important point as to the sociology of the nation at that time, and how interesting that it coincides exactly with this guy's particular career. I wonder what they thought. I'm looking at the map right now of where teeny tiny, really it's Mira Loma, and you're in this triangle. Riverside. I wonder what people thought about a guy with lipstick out there in the middle of BFE.
Yeah. But then again, people minded their own business a lot more back then.
They did, and
people,
yeah, no, they really did. You're absolutely correct. They what happened was in their home. Happened in their home was none of my business. That kind of thinking.
Although Northcott was
oh,
go ahead.
I've written some other stories about a girl who was beaten up by her father's wife, and her father died, so she was left a widow. This is up around Chico, and she would beat her up, and her brother would beat her up too. And she would come to school with black eyes, and they said, "Well, how'd you get the black eyes?" And she'd say, "My uncle beat me up." But nobody did anything. And then when she was actually killed, she was hog-tied up in an attic in the middle of the summertime, naked. She was only like a 15-year-old girl, and she screamed for hours, and the neighbors didn't do anything because they were minding their own business.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail right on the head. You're right. People did mind their own business,
You know how nosy my neighbors are now? Do you have any idea?
Yeah.
It's
No,
insane.
They're nosy. They're nosy.
It's like we run an orphanage over here. The kids, they ring the doorbell. Ding, 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 ding. All times a day. It doesn't matter,
Well, that's the way it is. Hey, at least they like you in your neighborhood.
Apparently,
Think about that.
They're over here all the time.
At least they like you. If they didn't like you and they didn't bother you, I'd start to worry.
That's true, because it's kind of a nosy neighborhood.
Is
So
there
if
something
they
wrong
bother
with
me,
me?
then you're the weird one.
Yeah, exactly. Do I
It's like
smell?
Mrs. Kravitz in Bewitched.
Yeah,
I loved her. Loved that show. All right, David, and Clarissa. Clarissa, why don't you give us then your psychological analysis of this heinous character, and then maybe any sort of final thoughts on him and his case, maybe before the bottom of the hour, and then we have the whole second half hour to get into anything and everything else that you've written about in your 4 books of California fun.
Well, let's see. Northcott was absolutely a sadist. He was a sexual sadist, and he was it seems like he was a preferential pedophile, meaning that he preferred boys. There isn't really much evidence of him molesting or raping girls. The boys all seem to be of a typical age range. Some of them got lower, like than 10 years old, but in that slightly prepubescent to just pubescent age range. And he was probably also a psychopath, which goes kind of hand in hand with being a sadist. So you've got pedophilia, you've got psychopathy, you've got sadistic sexual overtones. I mean, all of these things put together, it was just a matter of time before he committed murder, because you put psychopathy with sexual sadism, that's what's going to happen. So that's my really quick and dirty profile on Northcott. And do I think he would have kept doing it if he had not been caught? I know he would have kept doing it.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, they have no idea, because he used to go out into the desert to Mince Valley, and I still can't find that on the map. When I was doing the research for this, there were no books out and not much information about this. I had to really dig around to get my information. And while I was writing this book, I completely got sick of Gordon Northcott, and I put the whole thing away and worked on other chapters, and then went back and finished it for the end, because he just made me so disgusted.
Yeah, your book is a great breakdown on that case. Your book, Death in California, and there is another book that was written by the nephew, Sanford Clark, called The Road Out of Hell. I have read that book. I read that book several years ago. I do recommend it, but I will say this: that book is not for the faint of heart. It is incredibly graphic. You will need to take breaks. I mean, I don't need to take breaks. I deal with criminals all the time, and I had to.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
In that book.
Yeah.
But the normal person.
It was that bad.
Yeah. I left things out just because I thought this is just going too far.
I'm glad you did. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's horrible.
It's a harrowing account, but the thing that made that book interesting for me is that it was from a victim. You know what I mean? And you very rarely get, a surviving victim of Northcott. You very rarely get that that insight.
He was, of course, hanged. He was put to death just around
at San Quentin.
At San Quentin. And did anyone come forward after the hanging to say, hey, I was a victim too, or was it kind of put away? Because a lot of times after someone's been put to death, other victims like to come forward for whatever reason.
I don't think they were alive to come forward, personally.
Yeah, and a lot of these kids, too, were, in those days, you could leave home whenever you could crawl away from them.
That's true. Yeah.
And a lot of people lived in hell, because up until, just a few generations ago, the only reason why you had kids was to have an extra hand on the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was commonplace back in those days. Yeah. Yup.
So, yeah, kids didn't have it very well. And they would always leave home, and then you just never knew what happened to Johnny. Johnny left home. We never saw him again.
Yeah.
The bummer for me in this whole thing is, obviously the whole thing is, but Northcott used to take some of the children that he abducted and kind of pimp them out to other Los Angeles bigwig pedophiles. And none of those people got convicted. And that part is hard for me to figure out.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
Because that could have happened. They could have convicted them.
Yeah.
That's how LA worked back then. I mean, the rich just paid off anybody that they could, and the DA and the police department were open for those kind of things.
Yeah, different time. Time. And we got to run a break here, but when we come back, we'll be right back. We're going to cover some more tales of strange deaths and crime in California. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. Hey, you're listening to After Hours AM, and if you're listening to us via podcast, make sure you like us, follow us, review us, tell your friends about us, tell grandma about us, and keep listening.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
This is Jen McGowan, founder of Wayward Souls Promotions, a company dedicated to helping individuals, teams, radio shows, and others that are seeking exposure for their individual events, conventions, and shows. We offer a wide variety of advertising, such as web-based article, social media posts, podcast advertisement, and so on. Contact us at paranormalpromotion@gmail.com, visit us on Facebook at Wayward Souls Promotions, and visit our website at www.waywardsoulspromotions.com.
You're listening to After Hours AM. Do you have a question for the guest or even the host? That's really easy. Go ahead and email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Are you feeling like picking up the phone and being part of the show? Call us at 612-326-6874, 612-326-6874. Come be part of the madness.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
It's your real precious to look at the hose.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And we are talking all things strange California deaths and crime and all that odd deaths in the Golden State is what we're talking about. And of course, we're talking to David Culczyk. Or is it, how do you pronounce that again? I know it's just like the Night Stalker. Is it Culczyk?
Yeah, you got it right. Kulczyk.
Perfect. Look at that. Look at that. I almost called it said Kojak.
That would have been wrong.
That would have been funny.
I never heard that before.
I know, right? Right? Ah, darn it. He jumped all over my joke. But, yeah, we were leaving where, of course, we kind of talked about, or more than kind of, we really dug deep into what they dubbed the Wineville chicken coop deaths, and of course that was Gordon Northcott, and the crimes that he perpetrated in California during that time in the 20s. Now let's move away.
Hey, Joel, real quick.
Yeah.
If you want to read a blog post on it, you can go to www.thecriminalcode.com.
Yes, absolutely.
And read a blog post on that.
Yeah, everyone go there. We don't say that enough on the show. You need to go to thecriminalcode.com and check it all out.
And all my books.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. All my books are available on Amazon and in decent record stores. Look at me. There are no more record stores.
No, unfortunately, that is gone.
They're coming back.
Well,
I think they're coming back.
Slowly, maybe.
Oh, man.
Possibly.
Don't kill my dream, people.
We had the last one close where I am about 3 years ago, and that was pretty devastating for me being a radio guy, because it's just I have fond memories of music and older classic rock music. I have fond memories of buying my first album at this particular store, things like that. So it's hard watching the industry change and go towards more of a clinical industry, very uncaring, very unfeeling. A lot of the stuff now, I'll say this really quick, a lot of stuff now that we get is put together by some executive at a record company, a music company, because they don't make records anymore. And it's shoved down our throat as homogenized music is what we used to call it. It's for the masses. Gone are the days of acts like Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, all these great, powerful bands. They're all, they're not getting radio play like they once did. And now we're stuck with bop, bop, that kind of music.
Isn't that a classic now?
Well, it is now, yeah. I just saw Hanson on TV the other day.
90s.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, that's when it all started. Thank you, Hanson. It's all your fault, Hanson.
When the last record store, indie store, closed down here in Sacramento, actually, it was a good store. I realized like 40% of my social life disappeared because I would go in the record store, kill time, bump into friends, talk to the people that work there, hear some new music.
Yep.
A huge chunk of my social life disappeared.
Yeah, you're right. I used to do the same thing. Go down there, talk to the people that work there, talk to my friends. This one I went to was also a pool hall. So it was a music store / pool hall. So you play a little billiards and listen to music and talk to everybody and all the up and coming bands from the area. In fact, Soul Asylum used to hang out in this place. They got their start in that little music shop. So a lot of acts went through there. In fact, Prince even played there a couple occasions.
There's something though you have to think about. And when I was a young man of like 19 years old and I was a punk rocker and stuff. And there was a guy who lived a couple of doors down from me. He was an old jazz guy, trumpet player. And, we sound like he did back then now.
Yeah, exactly.
We're lamenting those days.
Get off my lawn, you kid.
Yeah, you damn kids.
Take your damn Hanson music and get off my lawn.
Take that thing you call an MP3 player and get out of here.
Just like 1926 right now.
Yeah, exactly. And David, man, you got a new book out there. So what's it called? What's the new book called? Let's drop it here.
Well, my new book, my latest book, it came out last September. It's called California's Deadliest Women, Dangerous Dames, and Murderous Moms. And these are about the worst female killers in California history. And I choose the ones that got their hands bloody, the ones that actually committed the crimes, not somebody that poisoned somebody or there was a man telling them what to do. I picked individual women who took it into their own hands to murder. And it's pretty gruesome. I lost a lot of friends I wrote this in one summer before last. And I lost a lot of friends because people would complain on Facebook, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, you think you had it bad?"
Yeah,
Yeah. How would you like to be eaten?
Yeah, exactly. So, let's talk about Batgirl for a minute. That kind of thing.
Girl.
There's one thing that's clear: every one of these women had a devil's doorbell.
Oh, for goodness sake!
I bring that up. That was brought up by a politician, and now Eric has latched on to that. He's going to be using that all week now. And tomorrow night when we're on air, he'll just casually say,
Just
The
in the middle of
devil's
something.
doorbell.
Wait, did you hear that? Ding dong. Devil's doorbell.
So anyhow, let's move away from the female anatomy for a minute and our Mike Pence's inability to wrap his mind around the female anatomy. Anyhow, let's get back to what we're here to talk about. And I'm looking at it at Amazon right now. The book you
Tell us about
you
some of
cover.
these killer
Yes,
chicks.
absolutely. Yes, do that.
Oh, okay. Well, one of my favorites, besides the Batgirl, and the Batgirl is one of the only ones I actually feel any empathy for, because she was on her own when she was 14 years old and was a stripper at 14 and, never went to school or anything. But, are you there?
We are all here, and we are all waiting.
We are
Okay,
holding our
sorry.
breath in anticipation.
Okay. My favorite one is, and she's kind of a sad case in a way, but there's no explaining what she did, and that's Amania Ari Nelson. And she was born in Egypt in 1969. She came to America when she was 18, and she was a victim of female genital mutilation as a young girl in Cairo. So sex was painful and traumatic for her. She was just beautiful. She was like 5 foot tall and very well endowed. And she was kind of I guess eye candy, male companionship was her job. But because of the circumcision, her sex was painful and traumatic, and so she got off through bondage.
Oh.
And one of her favorite bondage games involved, and she was always after middle-aged guys, too. She would tie up the guy in the bed, and then she'd take his money and valuables and leave.
Jeez.
That's a great game.
Yeah, that's not new.
What a fun game.
I'm gonna say, David, that's
and
not
that
new. I'm
happened.
just throwing it out there.
I found at least 2 that went up to where they filed charges against her, and the guys didn't show up because I imagine they really got a lot of grief at work. One guy wasn't found for 2 days.
Oh,
but
wow.
he was tied up on his bed for 2 days.
Oh,
So you can
man.
imagine the mess.
He could have died. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's why I never tell my
Yeah.
wife, "Hey, tie me up, do whatever you want," because I know she'll just go like, I don't know, shopping or something.
Well, Gacy, the serial killer Gacy, and I hate serial killers, but Gacy used to tell the guys, "You want to see the handcuff trick?" And he'd handcuff the guy's hands behind his back, and he'd say, "The trick is not to get handcuffed."
Yep.
Oh, God.
I know. It's horrible, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she ended up, Amania ended up getting married to Richard Nelson. He was a pilot. He did some time for drug smuggling, but he was just a middle-aged guy, drove a Corvette. On Thanksgiving Day, 1991, they got into their bondage games. She tied them all up, and then she took a clothes iron and beat them over the head with it. And oddly enough, there are 2 murders in this book that were done with clothes irons.
Wow, they're heavy.
Not something you ever think of.
How many were rolling pins?
None.
You know the old joke, she's gonna beat you over the head.
Well,
with
you
rolling
don't see men killing people with irons.
No, you
I'll
don't.
Tell you that.
I wonder why.
pins. He was bludgeoned with a purse.
Because it's not manly, that's why.
No.
Wait, I'm going to kill you with this iron. Let me...
Yeah, it's heating up, but when it gets
Women's
hot.
Work. Oh, no.
I was going to say because men don't know what it's for.
Touche.
But I'm
touche.
ching.
Touche.
You mean it's for killing people? Is that what
Is that what you're saying? I thought it was to make my clothes, not have wrinkles in it and make a nice crease. You're telling me it's made for bludgeoning people? Wow, my mother's been wrong all these years.
Oh, man.
I'm going to have to tell my mother, get away from me! You're going to murder me!
All right, now let's see about Amania. She took some scissors and she stabbed her husband in the chest. Then she got into her bondage clothes, which is red high heels, a red hat. She put on red lipstick, and she started cutting them up. And so a couple of days later, some ex-boyfriends of hers called the police and said, "Hey, you might want to go over to their house. She kind of asked me to do something kind of weird, and I just thought I'd tell you." So the cops show up there, and they find garbage bags full of his entrails inside the trunk of his clothes.
David! Oh.
It was a red Corvette too.
Oh.
Little red
Poor
Corvette.
David. David, why did you have to tell us that? No, I'm just kidding, of course. See, Clarissa has traumatized us far worse. So, we're okay now. Before, 6 months ago, David, we would have been running out of the room going, oh, my God, she put in the Corvette. But no, we're doing
I'm
okay.
not done yet.
No. Oh, no.
They found his head cooking on a pot
Oh,
on
okay.
the stove.
All right, left
and
turn.
His hands were fried in cooking oil. She cooked his ribs and ate them with barbecue sauce. And she told the investigators, nothing tastes as good as the man I married. It's the sauce that does it.
Oh, the sauce is boss.
So
Wow.
what inspired this? Had she done anything like that remotely before?
No.
So she
Was
just
this
decided-
something about him, or did she just flip? I mean, what's the theory? Did she just go completely bonkers, or did he do something to her? Did he push her over the edge? What's the theory on why she would go so operatically wild?
Well, by all reports, everyone thought that they got along great. And allegedly, they got along great. She just clicked. She just snapped.
Something just tripped
You
the
know, she
trigger,
was
and that
born
was
in
it.
Egypt in 1969. That's a pretty bad year to be born in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Right. There was a war, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years later, there's another one. So she was convicted of second-degree murder, got 28 years to life. She's still in prison right now.
Wow, man.
How could it have been second degree?
Yeah, exactly. She cooked them and premeditated everything.
That's pretty common. I will say that from experience, that is pretty common, not just in California, but in a number of states. And it depends a lot of times on, one, if there's a plea, and two, if there is a jury trial. A lot of times you want to go for what you know you can get a conviction on, and the threshold for first degree is pretty high.
Plus, there was no recipe book, so they couldn't pin her in.
Well,
No.
that clinches it.
No. She finally cooked.
Oh, my God. Horrifying. Well, that is certainly a noteworthy tale. Give us another badass chick.
This one, I'm flipping through here. This one happened in 1948. And my publishers didn't want me to do older crimes. They wanted to keep newer ones. This is one of the older ones. And it happened in Sonora, which is a beautiful gold mining area. Just a beautiful, beautiful area, not far from Yosemite National Park.
Mm.
So, Ada Peters Hansen and her husband Otto had their kids were all grown. They were 41. They were, empty nesters, and no one knows if they were really married or not. She was married 3 times, and each time her husband died and left her a widow during the Depression. She had a pretty rough life.
Yeah.
So they worked together. He was a handyman. She was a cook, and they worked at camps and restaurants up in that touristy area and stuff. And one day, Otto disappeared. They were spending the winter at a camp, a resort that was closed for the winter.
Sounds like The Shining.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah. Well, it was just cottages and stuff.
Sure.
So they had saved like $6,000. They were going to go to Alaska in the springtime, and they were going to buy a tavern. They had it all set up. But it turned out that Otto gambled the money away.
Oh, no.
Gambled the next day.
Bad move, Otto. Bad move, Otto.
Bad move, Otto.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So Otto disappeared, and she told everybody, in the area that he had gone to Idaho to see his kids before they took off to Alaska.
Idaho, Idaho.
Yeah. Idaho. So by July, she had moved out of the campground. She got a job at the Cliff House near Groveland, which is right in the gateway of Yosemite. And summer came, and August 16th, 1948, this family was staying at the cabin that Otto and Ada had lived in. And they noticed a horrible odor coming from the dirt between the cabins. and they poked around a little bit, and they found 2 graves, and it was Otto in 2 different parts.
Oh.
And he was only buried 4 to 6 inches deep.
Well, that's it. No wonder where she got caught. She should have gone the whole 6 foot.
Jeez.
Yeah, that usually works better.
It does. That way the smell, doesn't arise suspicion. So these campgoers come to find Otto's body, and of course they had to run to the police. Right at this point, when someone finds a body, the first thing you do is call the cops. Right.
Right. One grave contained his head, legs, and arms, and 6 feet away was his torso. So the police didn't know where she was. And, this is before there were telephones even that out there very much. Still very primitive. They ended up finding her at a beauty parlor just a couple of days later in Modesto, which is not too far away. And she told the cops that he had begged her to poison him because of the money situation that he did. And she said that she poisoned him, and then she waited a couple of days and she cut up his body with a boning knife and a hatchet, and then buried him.
Yeah,
and, that wasn't really a good reason.
I was gonna say they didn't buy that, did they? They didn't say, "Well, makes sense to me," and then leave the beauty parlor.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah. Well, if he asked for it, he asked for it.
Well, my gosh, who are you standing in the way?
She got life in prison.
Yeah. David,
can you see why I don't work in women's prisons now?
These chicks,
they're vicious, man.
They are more vicious than most men. I'm telling you, just by hearing these 2 stories. That is far more vicious. Give me a John Wayne Gacy any day of the week then. Than these chicks, because these chicks are, they're sadistic. These particular ones.
Yes, they're hands-on.
Yeah, very
As it was
hands-on.
put to me, when I was a young man, I was told, all right, now, as far as dealing with women,
oh no,
they are loyal, compassionate, kind, and loving until they aren't.
Do you want to know the only advice I was given? Don't trust anything that could bleed for 7 days and not die.
I have heard this before.
That's all.
Yeah, that's
what I was told.
Do you guys have sisters? Do you guys have
I
sisters
do.
At all?
I do.
I have sisters and mothers and daughters
I
and
do.
nieces and aunts. I got them all.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I grew up with 3 sisters.
Oh, yeah,
so
I did too. I
learned about women quite early.
Oh, and they are, I love my sisters. Great ladies, great people. But each and every one of them is the only brother, smack dab in the middle of this female sandwich of children. I got the brunt on both ends of the age spectrum of how sadistic they could be when they chose to be. Because, there was only one of me and 3 of them. So, the odds were not in my favor of survival.
That's true. It's true. Go ahead.
The statistic that I found out while I was writing this book is that there's only been around 100 women convicted of murder in the state of California in its 140-odd, 60-odd years.
Wow, that's actually quite low.
Which is amazing. It's very low. One of the odd things is that I found at least 8 doctors' wives. I wrote about 4 of them because the other ones weren't as interesting. But a lot of doctors' wives have killed their husbands, and all except for a few of them, they actually had pretty good reason. As far as not a good reason, there's never a good reason to murder anyone. But they had cruel husbands that were, usually they put their husbands through medical school,
Sure.
and then as soon as the good money started coming in, boom, they get the 23-year-old second wife, and
that never happens.
They get screwed out.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
So 100 have been convicted, and the rest got away with it.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's less than one a year. Think about it. That's amazingly low. It's crazy. For a state that big. They must be really smart, those women.
They must be, because, boy, they keep getting away with it.
Wow. Maybe they're all flocking to California. Hey, women, come here. We get Maybe that's why certain individuals named Clarissa live there.
That's right, and work in a prison. Think about it, Eric.
Did the word go out? Did the word go out on the grapevine? Yeah.
Come on over here. You don't have to worry about any convictions here. Don't worry about it. Only 100 of us.
Very, very tolerant.
Yeah. Well, California though is interesting state, and a lot of strange and wonderful things have happened there, but they also have their fair share of what we're talking about tonight with David. Have been some strange murders and killings in California. That's no doubt about it. And of course, if we have 5 minutes left of the show, and his newest one that you could pick up, of course, that we were just discussing, is California's deadliest women. And that, of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold, I'm sure you'll find it. And as we continue, and I'm looking at this list of the different women that you have found, you're right, man. You picked the badasses of the badasses. These are women that like to do what they used to call wet work. They like to get their hands wet, dirty. What was the worst one? I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but in your opinion, of all these women, the worst one, the one where you went, holy crap, hold the presses, this is crazy. Which woman?
Well, that's kind of hard to say, because some make up with their cruelty and not in the quantity, Yeah. Some of them kill a bunch of people. I think one of the worst ones was this woman named Man Ling Williams, and she got married pretty much out of high school, had a couple of kids, just lived a normal life. She was a waitress at Maria, what is that?
Marie Callender Pies?
Marie Callender.
There it is.
All right, so she lived in the and she was always complaining about how she needed, her life should be better if she wouldn't have had kids and stuff. And so one night she fed her kids pizza, and then she strangled both of the kids. They were like 7 and 5. Damn. And to strangle somebody, it's not like in the movies. It takes a good 5 minutes to strangle
you got to be committed. That's just
so
not
when her
casual
husband
kill.
came home, he was like playing softball or something. She met him. He collected samurai swords and stuff. And she hacked him to pieces, pretty much decapitated, stabbed him like 90 times. And then she went to her shower, got clothes with Maria calendars, and hooked up with her workmates, and went over to TGIF Fridays and closed the place. She came back about 2 in the morning, and then pretended that she found her family all dead.
So she kills off the husband and her kids, goes to TGIF Fridays, hangs out. Wow, that is cold and sadistic.
That is cold. That's very cold.
It's really cold.
Wow.
Let's go out for beers. When I get done with this matter at hand here, when I hack through this, I'll be right on over. Don't worry. Wow.
Well, and like, word to the wise, by the way, when your family members are targeted in an especially gruesome manner, like, I don't know, hacking up with a samurai sword and suffocation, or like a strangulation where you have to get up close and personal, if you ever tell anybody that someone came into your house and did it, we already know you're lying. So come up with something else.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, it's just so dumb. I see it all the time.
Well, we're at the end of the show, unfortunately, and it has been an absolute honor talking to you tonight, David. Really interesting stuff.
You.
And everyone that is interested in true crime at all, you got to pick up these books. And, of course, go over to Amazon and check out all of David's books. And, of course, we did talk a lot about Deadliest Women, so check that one out. And on behalf of myself, Joel Sturgis, of course, Mr. Eric Olsen, our beautiful and talented Dr. Clarissa Cole, we would like to thank you. Who is not a murderer. No, she's not a murderer, by the way. We would like to thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM. Take care of each other, love each other, and read about the deadly women.
Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.